It doesn't matter how it gets to you. I don't care if it's on a CD, if it comes through the internet. It really doesn't matter.
Listen, if it sounds shitty, then make it sound creatively shitty.
MP3 quality seems to be okay for most people.
And by that time they shut Kazaa down, the kids had a free taste of free music, and they weren't ready to go back.
So are we talking about a situation where the technology has created, if you will, more access or a lower ramp?
The traditional music business is in crisis, but the same new technologies that have created nightmares for the major labels, including my old home, Sony, now Sony BMG, has created amazing new opportunities for independent artists and entrepreneurs. In 1999, gross sales of all recorded music, including CDs, cassettes, was $15 billion. That was the high point. Since then, gross sales and income has declined in every year but one, and we are now, in 2006, at less than $10 billion. That's a one-third decline in income, and worldwide decline in income in the recording business is comparable. But in the meantime, the same technologies that have created this havoc for the major labels have created incredible new opportunities for independent artists. Home recording studios, the price of making a commercially acceptable recording, a fraction, because of places like this, of what they used to be. I was with a client last night. He's going to make a great record for less than $10,000. It's incredible. For just a few $100s, you create a website and you can reach a worldwide audience. So you've got recording technologies that are cheaper. You have distribution in your own hands for almost no money. So you can do it. You can do it, artists and producers, without a big record company. And the economics are great. We had our first digital music affairs conference at Sony, and we invited all the business affairs people from all over the world, of which there are fewer now. And the conversation was led by a litigator, and it'll become apparent in a minute why it was. And she put up what Sony was doing online. So you go to the Sony website, and then you go to Columbia Records, and then you go to Mariah Carey, and then you go 4 or 5 pages in, and there were 2 singles for sale. I think they were both $3.99, okay? And you couldn't download them. You could just play them on a desktop. You couldn't make copies. You couldn't share with your friends. So then she puts up Napster, you know, the glowing head, the skull, and she says, this is what they're doing. Okay, and she asked for a title from the audience. Somebody said, Hey Jude, I think. So she put it into the computer, typed it in, and not only did you get every version the Beatles ever did, but every version any other artist in the world ever did. There were about 100 versions, and they were all free, and they were all downloadable, they were all shareable, and they were all free. And I knew then we had a problem. So, what did the record companies do? Well, okay, they had a choice. They could have dealt with this little kid from Boston, Sean Fanning, or they could have tried to shut him down. So what did they decide to do? Yes, sue him. Preserve the traditional business models. Now, why did they do this? You have to understand one thing about the record companies at that time. They were making massive amounts of money. A movie was already costing $25 million to $50 million to produce, but a record was inexpensive, relatively $1 million, even with big producers, another 2 or 3 million for marketing. And they were selling 10 million CDs of Celine Dion and Pearl Jam. And if you consider $10 wholesale, $100 million, $3 million expense, not so bad, you have to pay the artist something, but we were making a fortune. So when this pipsqueak named Sean Fanning from Northeastern University, whatever the heck he was, we got the lawyers, and we definitely had good lawyers, to go after him. And they did the job. They shut him down. But it took a couple of years. And in the meantime, other pipsqueaks, one kid from Scandinavia created something called Kazaa. Now, they were harder to sue because they didn't have a central server, so legally they were more resistant, it took more time. But eventually our great lawyers were able to shut him down as well. But by then the cat was out of the bag. You know, a CD is an unprotected master. They didn't know this. When they went into creating CDs, they didn't think they were giving the masters away because it was before the internet. But when it's a perfect storm, when you get the CD, which is ones and zeros, together with the internet, it's freely transferable to everybody in the world. And by that time they shut Kazaa down, the kids had had a free taste of free music, and they weren't ready to go back. Okay, in comes Steve Jobs. We're getting towards the president. And he says, I have an idea. And they loved it because they thought he was a schmuck. The idea was, I won't make any money from selling digital downloads. You will. I'm going to, pay you 70 cents instead of 50 cents wholesale. You'll be getting more money. And they said, well, how will you make money? And he said, don't worry about it. I'll figure out something. So he appealed to their greed, and he got what he wanted, which was 90 million iPods sold. He made billions. The labels, not so much. In fact, digital sales didn't compensate for lost income from CDs, and sales of legal digital music are still flat. Now, Steve Jobs, he's a very smart guy. He's come out against DRM, but he says the labels are forcing him to use it. Yes and no. The labels are forcing him to use it, and that means he's right, and the labels should back off of DRM. But he doesn't license his DRM to any other MP3 player. So as a result, even though he's against DRM, he's not allowing you to use iTunes for any other MP3 player except iPod. Very smart. So although the new technologies have created havoc for the labels, partially because of their own fault, they've also created great opportunities for new artists and producers. And I'm happy to be working in that area now. That's it. Done.
Very good, Steve. Very good.
No, you can sit here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Steve. Well, I think what we really want to talk about is how this change, this dynamic that's going on, not only in this industry of music, but in technology and in culture generally, is affecting you and affecting the way that you're going to work. I think a question that's probably on everyone's mind in one form or another is, I'm either participating in what's going on here, but I don't quite know where it's going, or I want to participate, how do I get involved? Or in all, what do these changes mean to me? And so I want to, first of all, thank Steve for those insights. And then turn to our very talented and erudite panel, including Steve and our others, and ask you, first of all, what jumped out at you in terms of what Steve was talking about just now, in terms of these changes, in terms of what technology is doing, and how it's affecting the way people work? Any one of you.
I just got a quick one. What jumps out at me is the transfer of power. And to me, that's the most exciting thing that's happened in this demise of the industry. There's nothing wrong with the music. There's just something wrong with the music business. And the transfer of power.
And what's wrong with
has
the music
happened.
business, in your opinion, Nick?
Well, I mean, everything that he's outlined, how outrageously long-winded and expensive it is to make and distribute recordings via the old method, and how the inequity just is so blaring between, you produce it, you write it, it's your blood and sweat, and you get peanuts. As a producer, I have to fight tooth and nail for my 3%. 3%, and they look at me like I'm asking them for, half the profits. We're talking about 3%, and they'll fight you for that. So I see the transfer of power as being the biggest, best, most exciting part of that. The numbers, I mean, not that I don't care about the numbers. There'll always be good business and bad business. There'll always be new modes and outmoded ways of operating and making money. But, so that's not exciting to me. No offense. But what is exciting is the transfer of power.